Hello everybody, I'm Maris. Welcome to the CrackerJack channel. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today we have a very special guest. Yet another developer with the team. We have Kerrigan with us. Yay!
Hello.
And Kerrigan is going to be taking us through some things that she's worked on from when she started, all through how everything's developed up until now in the game. We'll get a chance to get more in-depth with her, get some more questions answered, things like that, like where she's from, her education background, all that stuff, because it is really cool. So we're going to get into it. I'm going to bring Kerrigan up on the screen. It's going to be the same format as last time, when we had like John and Joseph and all them up and showing everything off. She's going to share our screen with us, talk us through it, and it's going to be epic. So let's head on over. Let's all say hi to Kerrigan. Let's get in there. Yay! There we go. Welcome, Kerrigan.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well today.
Thank you for joining us. Now, real quick, for anybody that doesn't know, can you just explain your what you do on the team? I know you kind of have, like, you do a lot of stuff.
Well, and that's actually what I sort of like about being on this team. I was hired on as a level designer, but with such a small team, I've been able to branch out and do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. For the most part, we're using Unreal Development Kit to build UnderEarth, and generally I am working within Kismet to basically get things running.
Yeah. We actually featured one of your really cool Kismet sequences in this week's tech update on the Steam page for the game, and it looks like a beautiful, like, I don't know, it reminds me of like a Chinese lantern, like, you know, the paper lanterns. Like,
that's why
what
I
it
picked
kind
that
of,
one.
yeah, it kind of
I'm
reminds me of that.
pleased with that.
Yeah.
Sometimes the Kismet sequences can more closely resemble rats' nests, but that one made a nice, pretty picture.
That's pretty crazy. So, and you do level design. What have you been up to most recently?
Most recently, we've been finishing off. I've actually been going through and bug fixing to get ready for release. Just fine tuning the behavior of some of our different environments.
Like the flower pots?
Yes, I did have a flower pot try to hunt me down. That was about the weirdest thing I've had happen while on this job. But it shouldn't do that to any other players, so we should be good to go now.
Don't worry, I sacrificed myself for you.
Yes.
So, why don't we get on started, and show us what you got, take us through it. I know you have, I'm sure, a lot to go over. You've been on the team for, what, about a year now?
Yeah. Close, not quite. I came on, I think it was last September.
Okay. So, but you've created quite a portfolio.
Yes, I'm actually still not sure how much I'm supposed to show of the back-end code, just because it could kind of give away details of how to solve the puzzles.
Be judicious. Yeah, be as judicious as possible.
But let me go ahead and share my screen. Assuming it works. We were having issues on our team meeting last night without...
Oh, there it is. There's the lamp.
Yes. Technically, I have this rotated 90 degree. Well,
yeah. But that is so cool. And to think that that's the actual programming. That's pretty wild.
So can you still see me at the same time as you're seeing the environment? Or does it override?
It's your camera's going to load in a second. It's loading right now in the corner.
Well, so this is Unreal Development Kit, where I do pretty much all my work.
Mm-hmm.
I can show you a couple of the interior environments. Oh. Okay. So this is the room I've been working in most recently, one of the maintenance areas, and this is how we tend to see it in Editor. We've got little markers for particle effects, sounds, lights, various decals on the walls. If I go into a playtest,
Totally different.
yeah.
Big difference.
But what I've been working on lately is the coding to get the power box back here functional. Now, I have some bypasses right now so that I can normally you have to bring in some replacement parts from other parts of the game, but for the sake of playtesting, I didn't want to constantly have to run back and forth, so I have a few code checks in place that disable half the puzzle there.
Gotcha. That's so
But
cool.
we have, depending on the different power nodes turned on, the meter will raise to different points.
Gotcha. And obviously the red would probably be overheating or
Yeah.
low power.
Now, if we actually get it fully turned on, the lights in the room finally activate. Now, I don't have the lighting fully baked, so we actually run into a kind of weird error. If I turn on my player's flashlight and point up at the ceiling, it overrides the lights.
Gotcha.
Not going to be happening later.
Gotcha, yeah. It's the little things, and it takes a lot of playtesting to figure this stuff out.
But you're right, if I do try to turn on too many of these, it will overload and the lights will crash. And we'll have to start again. Right now, this is dead because the workaround I have for the replacement parts doesn't actually get resparked from the overload sequence. But
Gotcha.
But so that's what an end result looks like after I'm done working on things.
Now,
generally,
you do the level
the work
design.
I do is more in here.
Yep, there she is.
So we've got the trigger. Each of these triggers fires off an event, and then based on the math involved here, we go in and send different outputs or play animations to. We actually have an animation that gradually moves the meter lever back and forth.
Nice. Now, I know you work on level design. You're the level designer. Did you build this particular location yourself? Or was
At least part of it. Joseph had built the overall layout of how we wanted the walls built. But then I came in and actually filled it with a bunch of clutter, like putting the vending machine in here, tearing out one of the side panels and having some exposed wires, filling the shelves with junk.
Gotcha.
It had been pretty barren to begin with. So a lot of what I do also involves little visual tricks. So the vending machine, sorry, not the vending machine, the arcade machine technically is turned on with a visible screen. So I actually pulled in one of the lab screen monitors and implanted it inside of the object to give us the dead screen.
Very nice little trick. That's so cool. It's so crazy to see it like this. It's so bright.
Yeah. Yeah, if you just turn on game view mode, well, everything's dead because by default the lights aren't turned on.
Right.
And I can't turn on my player flashlight in that view mode.
That is crazy. And that the artwork in it, like the design of some of the items, is just so interesting. And that's obviously that's the hive, different levels.
Yes,
of the hive,
this is actually a blueprint of the upper facilities. Got a couple. We're currently in the main hive facility in the maintenance room down here. Further up, we have some rails and basically a tram going out to the Terra and the oxygen garden. The oxygen garden is where I've spent a lot of my time lately. Let me see if this is actually the working version that I've got stuff finished on. This might still have some... this might be the older version where the plant beds still chase you.
That is so cool.
Okay, they don't chase, but...
They may.
Okay, we have made a few adjustments since this version. But
Mm-hmm.
so basically, a lot of the plants are dead, and we have a nice scanner readout on our console. Our environment suit can actually scan certain objects in the world.
Mm-hmm. And that's obviously when it turns orange, you've hit a scannable.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this is the feed machine, so we can put various chemicals in
Mm-hmm.
to have the sprayer system mist the plants to try to adjust their pH to something more healthy for them.
Right.
So back in here we have uh, the chemical dispenser. So we've got
Yeah, that's
my
actually
flashlight isn't really
that
working.
was this is all your design.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We still need to adjust the lighting system because you can't really read the chemical labels on the red ones very well. We might just have to adjust the texture color.
Now you went through some hell to make this.
Uh,
I mean,
yeah,
first off, the door that unlocks it is awesome, and then like to figure this out the way you did, like how cool is that? And I know
well,
you probably spent what a good 2 weeks on
it was
that.
just because I kept trying to find the right way to do it. Yeah,
Mm,
and see what I mean? Rat's nests.
yeah.
And that's just because we're sending this signal out to every single different plant in the room over and over on the different
Yeah.
plant beds. But so the chemical dispenser, the problem I was running into is that it's easy for us to spawn a new object in the level.
Mm-hmm.
But UDK doesn't seem to have a good feature to then grab hold of that newly spawned object and play an animation on it.
Mm.
So ideally, I wanted the chemical dispenser to just gently eject the new chemicals,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't having any of that. So initially, back behind the wall here, I'd tried to build a series of ramps so that the in-game physics would actually, so we'd spawn the new tank up here,
Right.
and the in-game physics would let it slide down the ramp and pop out the bottom.
Ah, okay.
Problem being, half the time the tanks were getting stuck, and then
Oh.
we'd end up being game breaking just by virtue of stuff getting clogged back behind the scenes.
Mm.
So the way I finally managed to get it to work is that we have, let me get some of this out of the way, and I'm just hiding those, not deleting them. We have this chemical tank as just a marker. This isn't visible in game. It can't be picked up. It has no physics or collision.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a marker for where we spawn the new object. And it's actually merged slightly inside of the collision cage of the exit port on the dispenser. So when the new object is spawned in, the collision actually causes it to pop out.
Ah. Gotcha.
Now you can go a bit crazy with it.
Mm.
Uh, so if I just stand off to the side here and
It's
it'll
like,
there's a bit of a recharge delay on the machine. It has to have time to load in the new ones from back behind, but
mm-hmm.
you can just keep pumping out chemicals.
Now, does it run the risk of clogging up now that it's been changed to this, or?
So far, no. I've actually managed to get a huge amount of chemicals pumped out here in front, and it still ejects new ones.
Nice.
The collision and physics keep pushing them further out into the room, so
Gotcha.
we shouldn't have any issues.
That's so cool.
It stood up to playtesting so far.
Nice.
Actually, build yourself a little stack of them and use that to climb higher and higher if you want.
Yeah.
But then we've got some notes from the people who worked in here reporting issues. We can plug those in.
We can go give the plants some chemicals.
You probably can't hear the sound outputs,
No,
but
that's all right though.
these are gonna brighten up. They're apparently supernatural plants that just
Magically bloom.
way faster than they ever should.
Yeah.
But that's but if we do a scan on these planters, see John Cyperius still atrophies in adverse conditions. So it's still not doing great. The soil pH is 7.5, and generally we have these control groups on most of the plant beds so that we know what the ideal pH value for the soil is.
Right.
Now this one over here is kind of shattered. So
Yeah.
you're just going to have to work with it and see what happens.
Oh, darn.
Now, we've actually got, this is an older version of the map that was still having an issue. If I hop on this enough, I think...
It should go flying. Oh,
no. Well, oh, this might... Yeah.
There it goes.
This is the version where the plant beds can still
attack.
Sort of chase you, which has been fixed in a different version of the map.
I like when the big one chases.
Yeah, let's see.
It looks like seriously, it looks like a whatchamacallit, like a Big Mac truck coming after you, like a big machine. When it starts moving, like it looks real innocuous there, but once you see that thing come slowly sliding towards you, with that grill on the side looking like crazy teeth.
I think this map file might have been in between the fixing process where some of the plant beds had been repaired, but others not yet.
Yeah.
And it had to do with, to get the actors to be scannable, we had to build a special actor class. Unfortunately, initially, that actor class can be woken up by physics interaction. And so then accidentally grabbing onto the object was causing it to pull behind you, but it had a high enough mass scale that it was doing so very slowly and just sort of creeping after you, all forbidding.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Down in the bottom, and I don't ever use the stairs anymore. Back behind in the UV area, there are some of the other plant beds.
This was just added.
Yes.
All of these plant beds.
They've got the artificial nature scenes behind them. One of the screens is glitched out a bit. I hope that's coming across the shared screen.
Oh, yeah, it is. That is such a cool room.
Yeah, the glowing pipes, we have a pretty surreal color scheme in UnderEarth overall. Initially, the pipes didn't glow. We turned them on specifically for a stage of the play testing, just so that we could track the pathing a bit better. But then we decided we liked it, so...
Yeah, it was like, wow, look at this 80s club. It's like, we need to keep it. It does look pretty crazy, though. I mean, I remember it without the lit-up pipes, and then I remember when he did that to show off, where everything was going, and we were like, wow, look at that.
Let's see. I think I might be able to get one of the bigger ones to... Whoa!
Whoa, hey!
Okay, yeah, the plant bed actually killed me.
Wow, nice.
So I got crushed by it.
Sweet!
So yeah, we may not have enemies on UnderEarth, but there are environmental hazards. Normally not the plant beds. Usually it's more like your suit running out of power or oxygen.
Yeah, although the occasional ghost or killer flower bot,
We're doing our best to hunt down any instances of that sort of behavior and root them out.
Now, what are some other areas? Do you have some other areas available that you've worked on to just like walk through and take a look at?
Let's see. What's the latest version of this? I think you. This looks a bit crazy, but
the big girl.
This is actually where that lantern-looking block of Kismet was from. This is probably one of the most convoluted Kismet sequences I've ever made.
That's the Borg cube.
But each of those is going out into remote events to fire off individual checks based on location of various breaker switches. But when you're in-game, that's only there for playtesting, but it's like you can turn these on, and you're trying to get all of the pylons along the walls powered up.
That's pretty
One
awesome.
of these will turn on with every two of those, and in between you'll have the smaller pylons on the other wall. This is actually a kill switch test because there's going to be an area later in the game where if you do things wrong, you actually fry your power back here.
Ooh.
Oh, and I actually disabled the kill switch because that wasn't important for actual
To show
ability.
off. Now, you built all of this, right?
Uh, Most of it. The basic room layout again had been Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I moved some things around, and I actually built the whole subsection into the floor with this setup. Though I believe it was John who actually built our little breaker switches with the Tesla coil-esque rings around the back sides.
Yeah, I know he did design that, but pretty much you built this though.
Mm-hmm.
This nice little fun thing to rack our brains on.
And the Kismet was fully from scratch and
Oof.
took a little bit of doing, but it all works sound, and no one's been able to break it yet. So if you're
That's
ever
an
playing the game and
accomplishment.
manage to break it, email me and tell me how, because I want to learn from you.
I mean, that's a lot of work. How long would you say that took you to build that sequence? It had to be hours.
Well, yeah, I mean, overall time was probably around 3 weeks from when I started on this to when I finished it, but that was also with my time getting also divvied up to focus on other areas at the same time. So
Yeah.
just this puzzle, definitely a number of hours.
Yeah, that's
And
a
some of
lot of
that was
work.
when I first started building it. Halfway through, I realized there was a better way to do it that would just behave so much better, and so I just scrapped it and started over.
Oof. But that
That
is
happens a lot, though. You'll be going along and suddenly have an epiphany that, hey, wait, if I'd done this instead.
that stinks though when that happens, because then you scratch everything and go back.
Uh, it depends on your perspective. I actually tend to like those moments because I'm so much happier with the end result, just because it's like, ooh, I didn't think about that. But this way, it's so much cooler.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. I definitely get that. Now, um, let's see some other stuff you've worked on.
Let's see.
What else you got for us? Do you have the geology lab?
That's oh right. I have that version.
I think the
Let's hope the
geology.
working version's still in here. We've been updating our maps for the level streaming process,
Right.
and a couple times that's broken things.
Yeah.
It should still be good, though. It's going to be probably better open the master level. Because we're setting up the trigger detection so that it will unload unneeded areas of the level and not kill anyone's computer.
Right. This crazy setup.
Okay. So we're down in the antechamber 2.
And I know a lot of people think, like, when they see some of the screenshots with all these bright colors, they're like, well, that's a little odd. But, like, when you see it in motion and you see it being used, it's a totally different effect.
Yeah, a lot of the bright colors on most objects actually tend to have more of an oil slick or opalescent appearance
Right,
because it
yeah.
changes depending on your angle.
Yeah, that's a beautiful
I'm
touch.
not exactly in the... Let's see. So we're going into the labs here.
Nice. But, like, the color scheme is just so cool. It's really a standout, like, color palette in a game. And it's not something you'd expect from being, like, underground or, an area that maybe is supposed to be dark and dreary.
Let's see.
Now, you spent quite a bit of time on this, too.
Actually, not so much time on this one. I spent more time trying to get the texture wrap on this thing to actually look appropriate for the environment. We have to keep some of our poly counts low enough that the edge seams became an issue on some things.
Gotcha.
But we've got a few slides that we can load in.
And you can see the structure of it. That's so cool. And you did all this.
Yes.
That's really, really cool.
And even though I would have loved to actually take some actual photos of geological samples, but I don't have access to a powerful microscope, and most of the better images I could find, I kind of suspect were copyrighted. So
Yeah.
I actually took the general idea of them and actually designed some stuff in Photoshop.
Ah, very cool.
So yeah, there are some minerals that look similar to this, at least on a small enough scale.
Right. Yeah, but that's cool that you went in and did that. And then again, you went ahead and decorated this room.
No, I actually, this room was pretty much all in place when I came in. They to just add the microscope. I
Ah,
think they'd actually had this room done before I was hired on.
wow. Nice. That shelf is really cool. I like how
Yeah.
it's so transparent. That's really cool.
I question the sense of having your rocks stored on a glass shelf, but
I
at
mean,
the very least, you're going to scratch them up a bit.
yeah, but I mean,
But I like it.
it does. It looks nice.
But yeah, our objects do have decent physics most of the time. A few times things have gotten a bit weird, but we're working out most of those kinks.
Yeah, again, it's, you got to play test through and try everything, and then sometimes you'll think of something you haven't tried, and,
Yes,
and
we're
then all of a
actually
sudden you're like, oh, well,
we're actually looking at a workaround for one section during a level load because we didn't take into account that a player might be able to carry a lot of these objects out of the room with them. And then technically once that room got unloaded from memory, those objects would have disappeared. So we're in the process of migrating some of that so they either won't disappear or certain things won't be allowed to be removed.
gotcha. That
But
makes sense. And that's
here you
not
see if,
something you'd catch right off the bat.
yes. Just differences in approach. It's so easy to get tunnel vision almost working in here and not realize what else a player might do. We get so used to the process we're building that we can overlook things.
Yeah, yeah. Totally understandable. I mean, you are focused on something particular, so I mean, I can understand, just maybe not crossing your mind that someone may do something a little wild.
But so we've got the power switch in here, and we can turn that off. And
We can see the temperature going up and down.
yeah, that's not really controlling the lights in this room, but some of the background facility. Now, if we yank the fuse box out, works fine. Now, if we yank it out when it's running, we get a bit of an overload.
Whoa. That's so cool. Now, is there a
Short
way to
circuits.
repair that?
Uh,
Thanks for playing.
Yep. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, that's not, but that's definitely a consequence of trying something and maybe not paying attention to what you're doing.
Or maybe you have to pull it out when it's running. You never know.
Or maybe.
Some things might not always work as you expect.
True. But it also does lend into that, the survival aspect of the game where, certain things do have consequences that are going to have consequences down the road. Besides keeping, say you want to use oxygen earlier, you want to, not through one of the oxygen machines. Well, there's a consequence to that down the road.
Yes. So the oxygen garden I showed you earlier is where all those plants actually provide air to this facility since it's so deep underground. It wasn't cost effective to just keep pumping it down. But here in the lab, we were just in the geology lab, but their botany lab here is where they're actually doing experiments and hybridizing different plant species.
Ah, mutant plants.
Yep. Now we wound up with mutant plant beds there for a bit, but
Oh man, that's pretty cool. And there's a good number of experiments that you can participate in, correct?
I believe so. I it's actually weird to say, but I haven't actually probably seen half of the game really, just because I usually have my nose buried in some part that isn't quite working right, and once I'm done with that, I move on to either build a new section or work out the bugs in something else. But there are actually lots of the sections that were done before I was hired on
Well,
that I'm not actually that familiar with.
that's kind of to be expected though, because if you think about it, you I mean, let's face it, you do spend a lot of time working on the game. Throughout the week, you spend, a good portion of your day working on stuff. So
Hmm.
I can imagine that, you want to get the stuff done that needs to get done and working. And then, if you were to get a lull, well, then you can always go back and play. But like, you're so focused right now.
The
It's
upside,
just,
though, means that when this is actually released, sure there will be some puzzles that I know exactly how it's supposed to work because I built them, but other
mm,
sections will be somewhat new to me.
that's pretty cool.
Not a whole lot necessarily, but still some. And seeing the whole thing all together is good. Now I'm going to jump down here. This is not going to be good, I don't think.
Ooh,
That wasn't far enough to break my leg.
oh,
Awesome.
nice. Nice. Ooh.
That was.
Ah, dag nabbit.
Wait a minute. Did I?
No, I don't think you broke your leg.
Oh, we've got a
Oh.
hole in the wall.
Ooh.
This is the map that we're adjusting for the level stream.
Mm-hmm.
So we've broken a few things in the process.
Gotcha.
Where was I going from? Well, I don't actually need to debug stuff while on the call.
No. It's amazing how big this is, though. Like, it's confined, but it's big. It's got that big space feeling.
I was here, wasn't I? Did that not spawn in? Okay, yeah, the barrier mesh is not showing up in game. I'll
No.
look at that a bit later.
Mm.
But I'm not sure if we have a version that's fully integrated into the game, but clean room toolbox. We've changed a lot of our back-end code, so this exact room might not function quite right anymore.
Ah, yes, the toolbox. Now, this is the inventory system,
Uh,
for the most part.
okay, and this is the wrong map file. Yeah, that doesn't have any of the trigger on it. This doesn't. No, it does. I have actually reworked the toolbox since this version. I think Joseph has the current version. Unless it's clean room 4. Okay, this might be it. Okay, yes. The notion being that we can load our... Oh,
You can load everything into it. Whoop.
oh yeah, this was the version where the toolbox decided it was going to disappear whenever you loaded something. Odd thing is, it never does this in the game levels, only in this test level. So presumably the test level we were using is missing some of the backend event code that was actually making this function properly.
Right.
But when the toolbox is actually loaded in game, it works fine.
That's pretty cool, though. That's an interesting way of carrying around your stuff. And obviously, all the stuff that you're going to utilize, you'll be picking up and putting in there.
Yeah.
We see the crowbar, the oxygen tank, weld plates.
I hope people like it. I wonder if we need the toolbox to be less obscuring your view, though.
It's
Because since it's your inventory system, you're going to want to take it with you places, and it's going to block half of the area that's lit by your flashlight.
I mean, but hey, you got to pay attention. It is survival.
Yeah. Still, I think we might be able to adjust the offset on the grab so that it's held a bit lower down.
That's really cool, though.
Yeah, this room specifically was having some occasional... Yeah, there we go. Objects just vanishing. We haven't been having that in the main levels, so it's a problem with our clean room test ground.
Gotcha. Probably something that wasn't caught right away, or some little thing
Yeah,
that was
this is
forgot to get
an
checked
older
or something.
environment.
Yeah.
But most recently, I've been here.
Joseph says, what better way to know you have it than holding it in front of your face?
True. True. You're never going to forget you have your toolbox. But
that's so cool.
Now, I can't take credit for building any of this. This environment was pretty much done before I was hired on as well. But I've been reworking the console system.
Ah.
That's over here. So just the player's interface, so that they can manipulate the different events down here.
Get it moving. And
I don't want to do too much or it gives away the puzzle.
Yeah, no, I understand. That is so cool. Like, the effects in there are really cool. All the steam.
Now, if I just jump into the water here, I'm going to get myself electrocuted.
Oh, that's not...
Yeah, because we've got the spark you can see every so often down there. It's actually randomized.
Yeah, but I also see the electrical stuff underneath the water, too. Yeah, that's not exactly safe.
Oh,
no.
And we don't last very long in here.
Oh, no.
Sort of try to...
Run.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you could do... Oh, no, you didn't do it. You did not make it.
But now, since we're in editor, I have a respawn key.
We believe tomorrow starts today. All across the state, the economy is growing with creative new business incentives, the lowest taxes in decades, and new infrastructure.